We're going to be doing the Spaces Protocol workshop starting now. If anyone's interested, please step up and join, and we're going to have a little bit of a hands-on component to this. I see a lot of friends in the audience, so I appreciate everybody coming out for me and supporting. My name is Andrew Lundy. I'm in Atlanta. I'm part of the ATL BitLab group of Bitcoin developers in Atlanta, and very glad to be part of the community and doing whatever I can. This is a little bit of a pet project. I kind of consider myself the #1 fan. So we're going to talk a little bit about Spaces Protocol, kind of what it is and the background of it, and then the newly launched part that was launched a couple weeks ago on mainnet. Well, hopefully everybody's going to come away with their own Spaces Protocol name. So let's get a little bit started. So Spaces Protocol, it's effectively a Bitcoin anchored naming system. So think, I hate to say this, but think DNS without a central authority. This is kind of the essence of it. It's names anchored on Bitcoin that cannot be taken away. Why is that important? Well, I already kind of talked about myself, so I'm going to skip this one. You get an uncancelable name. Think about your name as property. This is sovereign property, right? You know, when you get your domain name for your website, back when we all had our own websites, right? You had to go to GoDaddy, you had to register it, and then you get this bill every year to renew that name. So do you really own it? You have to keep paying. If you stop paying, it goes away. So that's one thing that's, is always hanging over you, as well as it's happened. It doesn't happen to us in the US that much, but there was an incident in Spain, Catalonia, breakaway province, that really wanted to go independent. They had their top level domain .cat totally suspended, the whole top level domain. So anybody who wanted to use a website to organize a protest about their cause, they were SOL, right? So you couldn't, this is a real thing that can be pulled. Now, we used to, US kind of defense industry kind of managed all this stuff kind of on everybody's behalf, but back in the Obama administration, it was all the INNA and the naming authority were all transferred to some international group of who knows what they're responsible to. So, while it works today often, we have to be really kind of wary about what's possible. And, if we want our freedom of speech to be maintained, this is one thing that we want to be concerned about. So what's the motivation? So if you've been in this space a little bit, you've probably heard of things like Ethereum name system and Handshake and Bitcoin Namecoin. And there's been a lot of attempts at this. In fact, some of the early, Satoshi actually suggested a name space on Bitcoin early on. It really didn't kind of pick up and get going, but the idea has been out there for a while. And back when I was first getting into development, I was doing blockchain stuff primarily, and because I'm a developer at heart and have been my whole life, I was like, well, where's all the cool toys? Well, all the cool toys were over in the Ethereum world, right? It's like they had smart contracts. They had all this like weird staking chaining crap. And so I went there for a while and did a lot of integration and development. But the more I learned about the protocols and like why proof of stake versus proof of work is really no competition, it's like there was something over there that I really dug, which was this thing called unstoppable domains. And I got it set up. I'm like, this is cool. I can have my little page. Nobody can take it away from me, but nobody can see it either. It's like you have to have support in your browser to make it work. Or you have to kind of tell people, go through all these gyrations to get to my little page. So I'm like, the idea is right. The concept behind this is good, but it's not going to really work on the Ethereum land. It needs to be in the Bitcoin land. Bitcoin was kind of behind the times in terms of building up a layer of a foundation of buildable platform. But I knew it was going to get there. I knew that the core premise behind proof of work was where things needed to be. If you read the software premise, Laurie talks about this at the end of the book. There's a lot of, I think, a blue sky in terms of just open applications that really can benefit from the features that Bitcoin provides. So if you got an application that needs lots of trust, uncompromisability, distributed across the globe, bounded by energy, this is where you want to be building. And while I won't really go into a lot of the details, the founding team had the founder of this, a guy named Mike Carson. ran a domain system himself, was very steeped in the domains, was in the whole business of reselling domains and stuff. And he saw kind of that all the efforts that had come before just didn't quite fit. The mixture wasn't right, it wasn't fair. People were squatting on good names. People were like running up the price. It wasn't fair for one reason or another. So he kind of took a whole fresh approach at this. And if you go to, if you look at this deck, this slide has a link to a presentation kind of outlining his motivations. I don't think it's like important to go over that right today, but the point was like, hey, it's like if it's not fair, then nobody's going to buy into it and nobody's going to use it, because it doesn't matter what you build. If you have no adoption, it doesn't really matter, right? So I say use the source. I know nobody's going to screenshot this, but it's like effectively go to the spacesprotocol.org is the main website, and that kind of links you to all these other places. And we'll kind of touch on these as well. I can give you this information, and the tool that we'll be using has a link to this presentation, so you'll be able to get it that way as well. All right. So what is Spaces Protocol? How does it work? So there's really two parts to it. And I've got this shirt on. So this is a top-level domain at Bitcoin. And it was one of many that have been registered. And I was able to get my name. I bought this, Andrew at Bitcoin, and this becomes like now part of like my identity, what I use. The at Bitcoin part, the top level part goes, in order to acquire one, you go through an auction process. All of the auction process is a top level mechanism. It's all on chain. It's all using real Bitcoin. So you either load up the software, run it on your own node or something like that, or you use a GUI-based interface, which I'll show you in a second, to go through some of these operations. But effectively, you know, it looks kind of like an email address, but there's nothing, there's no dot top level anything. That's kind of the separator that sets it apart from other things. And then everything to the left side is managed by a zero knowledge proof set. So once you have a top level name and have gone through the process of getting that registered on the Bitcoin blockchain, then you don't have to do any more real blockchain stuff. You can make up as many names as you want, put it all together in one proof set, and make one commitment that represents that proof set, and you're good to go. So it scales really well. So let's go on. So this is the auction process. So you load the software, or you use the what's called the Akron wallet, which makes it a little easier. But it's effectively the same thing. It's the software crawls the Bitcoin blockchain looking for these particular types of transactions, and it builds up a representation of the existing namespaces, the top level namespaces. But when you want one, of course, the one you want isn't there yet because you haven't requested it, right? So you open up an auction with an open command, and we recommend you start with 1,000 sats. You know, there's like these dust limits that make things weird. So 1,000 sats is what? 80 cents, 70 cents? Okay, to get started, right? And then one of the throttling mechanisms is only the top 10 open bids per day get into the active auction. So if 1,000 people, if people saw this presentation, they all jumped in, wanted to register 1,000 new names, only 10 are going to get in to the active auction phase initially, every day. So every day, the top 10 get released into the auction phase. Now, once your name is in the auction phase, everybody can see it. If you decided that it would be cool to have Coca-Cola, well, it's there for everyone to see who's interested in participating in the auction. So somebody else might think, hey, maybe I want Coca-Cola. So they'll outbid you. Because all this is on chain, if you get outbid, your last bid is returned to you. So you're out the cost of the transaction, but you're not out your bid money. And whoever now is the top bidder, now they could be overbid. So while it goes through this 10 days worth of bidding, so everybody can see, everybody has ample opportunity to see what's going on, to see if there's something coming up that might be something that they're interested. And if at the end of those top days, that the top 10 or the 10 days of active auction, if there is, say, you've been working on Coca-Cola, now it's up to like, 0.1 Bitcoin. It's like then whoever it is that you probably don't know who they are, it's anonymous, completely anonymous. Maybe they want 1.2 Bitcoin, right? So as long as the highest bidder stays highest for a day, then the auction ends. But as long as there's someone competing against you, it gets extended another day. So as soon as somebody outbids you, it extends another day. So if you're like sleeping, you were the high bidder, and suddenly like you look at it the next day and say, hey, I'm not the high bidder anymore, you still have an opportunity to participate. So unlike eBay, which I don't know how many times I went there thinking I was just going to put in that bid at the last moment, and then somebody freaking sniped my stuff because they jumped in at the last second. That's not possible with this system. It'll keep going as long as there's active bidder. And the point is it'll naturally come to the value for that name that the market decides. So that's one of the things. Now, once you've made the top bid, your competitor bidder is given up. They're like, man, I'm not going any higher. I can't go there. And your bid sits high for a whole day. Now it becomes eligible for registration. Now, if you go on vacation and you're the top bidder and you're not around to register it, somebody can still come in and bid higher and become the top bidder after waiting a day. So when you get to this stage, you kind of want to pay attention to what's going on and make sure that as the moment that you're able to register it, you do. Again, another online transaction, that seals the deal. Now you are the owner operator of that top level name. So the only caveat about at this point is that if you do nothing else at all on chain with your name for a year, it will actually expire. This is the only expiration mechanism that is in the protocol. So if you get hit by a truck, if you own Coca-Cola and you get hit by a truck and you don't tell your estate, hey, by the way, I own Coca-Cola, and if they come around wanting to give us $1 billion for it, here's the keys, and this is how you would transfer it to them. If you get hit by a truck and don't tell anybody, then instead of it being locked up forever, a year would go by, nothing's happened because you're dead now, and then it would become available for auction again. The whole process starts over. But as long as you're paying attention and do at least one thing, and one thing could be anything. There's a renew command, the cost of a transaction. I mean, these days it's like 10 cents. Go ahead, Andrew.
So is this every year or just the first year?
No, every year. So the question was, is this every year or just the first year? So it's every year.
So it's like crypto where you have to renew it.
It's like the crypto that you have to renew? Yeah, you do have to renew just the top level name. Okay? Yeah, if anyone has questions, just jump in. There's a mic kind of floating around here somewhere. It might be up here. Anyway, so after you're the uncontested winner, you get the name. So great. What does that mean? Well, that means that you're the operator. Now, currently, there's not any services that you can say, hey, I don't want to be the operator. I'd prefer somebody else to do that. That's part of the ecosystem that I'm working on building out. It doesn't exactly exist yet, but if you're into it, you're probably going to be very interested in seeing, what does an operator mean? So, I kind of talked about all this, so let's see. Top level names, all right. I think we've covered all this stuff. So, yeah, I mentioned pretty much all this. The software indexes the blockchain, creates a state of top level names. I'm getting ahead of myself. So this is the Akron wallet. So if you don't want to run just a command line, there is a application you can just download, Mac, Windows, whatever. Looks like this. Once you crank it up, you point it to your node, and it will sit there and try to sync. It'll have to go crawl from the origin height of when this project was kicked off. So it takes a little while, but it gets there. And then you fund this with a little money, and then you're off to the races. You can bid, and you don't have to use the command line interface. So it's kind of nice. This is what's called the Spaces Explorer. So for all the names that have been purchased and registered or are actively in auction, you can go to this website, explorer.spacesprotocol.org, and see what's going on. So you don't have to even run the special software to see what the activity is. And if you see something coming up that you might be interested in, hey, yeah, load up the software and bid on it. So what about the rest of it? What about the stuff to the left of the @ sign? So in this case, Andrew on my t-shirt, how does that work? Well, That's all managed through a zero knowledge proof hash tree. So it's a variant of Merkle root tree for those interested in details. And effectively, you go through a process of suggesting a name, sending it to the operator, and then the operator will then put it in a proof set, run the proof, and then the root of that proof can then get put back on the chain as evidence that your name exists and can't be taken away from you. Once you, I'll get to this other part later. So, all right, continues. So also, I'm not really going to go into it, but once these are issued, a certificate is generated that goes with the name and can be used to prove the validity of that name in an offline way as well. But that's there's a library of, by using the root tree of all the anchors of the commitments, you can kind of find out if something's valid in a very light way. And there's all sorts of languages for libraries that have implemented this. So, and another thing, each subname it's using a HD wallet sort of metaphor, so it's deriving private public keys. So typically, the way you kind of suggest a name is to use this other tool called the Nacho wallet. I took this and we used this at TabConf last fall to generate some at TabConf names. But because I wanted to make it a little bit better, I kind of modified it and made it valid for this workshop. So this is where we get into the workshop. It looks like this. So I want everybody to pull out your phones, except for you in Atlanta who have already done this at our meeting the other week. It's the same thing, so don't worry, you're not missing anything. You should be able to go to this thing and get to a website. Are we getting there? Is it working? It should say Nacho with kind of a triangular logo. All right, very good, thank you. All right, are we there? This is the workshop part. Everybody's there? Because I'm going to move on. Okay, good. Good, we got confirmation? All right. So, this is what it should look like. You got it? You want it? Yeah, we're using some pretty janky Wi-Fi, and I've got a VPN, and it's like all running off my laptop. So it's like, it's kind of, it's a bit tentative right now, so please bear with us. So, but it should look like this. So I'm going to go through a bunch of screens where what you see kind of circled in orange is what I want you to do. So what the first thing you want to do, let me go back, is create a new key store, that first button. So you're going to be presented with your 12-word key phrase, your mnemonic. I want you to scroll a little bit and copy that sucker and put it somewhere else on your phone. Do not lose it. All right? So I want everybody to do that part. I don't have slides for that. Yeah, okay.
We have to tap to reveal it, right?
Say again?
We have to tap to reveal it.
Yes. So at some point you should see 12 words. And forgive me if sometimes the screen gets crowded. You may have to scroll up and down a little bit. Where I know you really have to scroll, I've kind of indicated it, but on your phone it may be a little different. But you should copy those 12 words and put them in your copy buffer, but also save them somewhere. Put them in one of your notes, send it to yourself, something. So I'm going to wait for everyone to tell me you're done. How are we on time? What time is it? 35. All right, I got to roll fast. All right, are we good? Okay, so moving on. So next thing you want to do is, once you've done that, you should get to this screen where you can search. Now you're not going to see these MySpaces on yours; it's going to be blank. But there's the button at the bottom. Do not touch that one yet. Don't touch the add handle one yet. But search for a name, and if it's available, it will show up with a little green button next to it. Are we there? Real good? Say again? Yeah, so when it gets to, when it gets to verify, just paste into any one of the fields. If you copied it into your buffer, paste it into one of the fields and it will populate all the 12 words for the verification. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Scroll. Oh, sometimes, depending on how your browser's set up, the bottom buttons get hidden. Try turning it sideways and see if you can like see the button at the bottom.
I downloaded my key store, but I'm not sure where it went to my.
It should be in your copy buffer, or it'll be in your files.
So I did restore.
No, don't do that.
Restore from seed phrase.
Yes.
Okay.
And then paste. Just hold one of, and then paste. Just long hold it.
Okay.
You might have to try it again. It's not. It should be in your copy. But oh, there. Now hit paste.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Now scroll to the bottom. Dismiss your keyboard if you can. There you go. That button.
Okay.
All right. So now you're. Are we stuck? Okay. So you're here. You search for a name. I did Andrew. I said it was available, so I hit available. So then the next thing you do after you've hit this green button is you click on the add handle button at the bottom. We're good? Moving on. Okay. You got the green? Yeah. Hit the add handle. Okay, I'm going to the next slide. Alrighty. So now things should look like this. You should see a bunch of information about public keys. This is all the private public key information about your handle. And there's a button called Send Request of these top bottom buttons. Click on that Send Request. And as you're doing that, I'm going. So I can see your names coming in here. So this is the back end that's like collecting all the names. So if I look at this uncommitted, I can see who submitted stuff. So I'm seeing all the stuff that you guys are submitting right now. I know that have put in their things as last chance. So you can keep doing this. I'm going to keep talking as we go. One thing to note about this is like I set up this so that it mirrors the way that normal Taproot wallets work in terms of their derivation path. So you can crank up, this is on the right, this is Sparrow Wallet. You can crank up Sparrow Wallet and you can go to settings and you can put in the same 12-word passphrase that you used and you will get the exact same addresses and information. So this is a good way, I'm just showing that you can, if you go to the 9th account, then you will get the exact same set of addresses, and that's what I'm circled here. This address is corresponding, so I know that this is actually real and corresponding to Taproot. So I'm at this point, I'm going to show you some screenshots of a wallet process that I have that is separate from the one you're working with, but it's a real wallet with actual Bitcoin, and I made it with the Tether wallet development kit. But it looks like this. In this is my prototype version running. I've got a few assets. I've got Tether Gold here, USAT, USDT. So the wallet can handle other things than Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin. I have this little button up here to kind of get to the spaces information. And the same sort of searching for a name can be done here, but with like a little drop-down list. So the thing is, like, once you get your top-level name, you're going to want to start selling it to other people if that's what your motivation is. So I've got some things here, but if I've gone through the process that you did, which was to create the thing in the Nacho wallet where you don't have to worry about Bitcoin and any of that stuff, then I've got this Find Spaces button, which will allow me to go crawl the chain, and find things that were registered other ways. So I've done that here. I've gotten to Bitcoin. That was my Andrew at Bitcoin 2026. I then have this button, Take on Chain. And what this is doing, it's creating a special UTXO that is bound to your particular name. Once this special UTXO gets into your control, into your wallet's control, then the operator no longer has any influence on it. And it is yours, it is sovereign, it never expires, and it's up to you to like manage it, protect it. It's part of your estate, whatever you want. So because it's an actual transaction, I say, kind of tell you what's going on here. I say proceed, and you can see here you have to pay. Now, what the cost is will depend on the operator. If you're somebody with a valuable name, you might charge people quite a bit for this. Go through the purchase, and again, I'm looking at Sparrow just to kind of confirm that this stuff is all happening on chain. And then on the left here, it kind of goes into a waiting payment. Of course, we know, but sometimes a block comes in 2 minutes, sometimes it takes an hour. So you need to know when it's there. Once it gets created, then I enable this other tool called the hex tool, which allows me to then specify certain extra attributes about my name on chain. And when I fill these out and I hit save hex string, go back, it gives me a new button that says update on-chain data. When I press that, it gives me a, hey, you're going to make another transaction. You're going to have to pay for this. You hit purchase, and then you pay the sats. In this case, I had it set low, so it was only 291 sats. And that created a confirmation transaction that is also on chain with those particular attributes of data. So at this point, you're making your own transactions, and you need a wallet that understands this so it doesn't mess up your UTXOs. If you end up spending your UTXO accidentally that is associated with this top level name, then you mess up everything. So that's one of the reasons I segregated into a different account so that you don't accidentally do that. Again, I'm looking at Sparrow Wallet here to show that this is actually what's going on. And I don't know if you can see this at the bottom. If I look at the up return, I actually see that information that I put in there. So it says I put in a handle called Andrew at Bitcoin 2026, and also a website piece of information called my LinkedIn address. So this all fits inside the current truncated op return limits. So even if for some reason BIP 110 went into force, this would all still work. So I'm moving fast. I'm coming back to the workshop. So I have to do a couple things now. So if you just hang on, let me do a couple things in the background. So, am I short on time? Am I overtime? All right. Oh yeah, you're there. You got there.
So, is there anything else I need to do at this point?
Just hang on.
Okay.
Oh, hit send. Hit send request.
I did.
Okay, you did.
I already
Okay.
got it. So.
Okay, very good. Just hang with me, folks. So I have to do a commit statement here, and that creates a new. And I apologize, it's very tiny here on the screen. I don't expect you to see this. I committed the new proof, the proof tree that included all the names that you guys just submitted. So then I can, at this point, issue you a certificate. So now that I've done this, you should be able to hit that next button, which says get certificate. Yeah, receive certificate. So go ahead and do that. Also, while you're doing that, I can do the actual proof. So I'm going to do the prove method, and this will probably take 2 or 3 minutes, but I can keep working at that same time. So while I'm doing it, let me go back to the slides. So you should be able to hit this receive certificate now, and it should give you a certificate. Has everybody done this now? Okay, great. So you should see all this information, and at the bottom it should say proof with something that looks like this. So If you've gotten this, there's a button that says Sign Nostr Event. This is just a little exercise to show you what you can do with it. So when you do that, you get to this third screen, and you can upload a Nostr event if you've got one. But I have put a button just to like compose a very simple event. So if you hit that Hello World event, it'll show you this. You can change the message if you want, or just hit at the bottom Sign Event. And then when you've done that, it's actually sign it with the key pair that's associated with this name. So if you, and this kind of got lost down at the bottom of the screen, but scroll to the bottom, you should see this button that says Broadcast to Primal. Does everyone see that? Are we good? Okay, I see nodding. All right, if you click on that, then it actually does exactly that. It broadcasts your signed message with your key pair to Nostr. And then if you go back to the screen before, you should, I'm sorry? Okay, so then if you go back to the prior screen, you may have to hit the back button. There's this, near the Nostr key, it has this link that says On Primal. If you click that, it'll open up a new window with the Primal page for that new account, and you should see one message with the message from your Hello World. So I would remind everybody of this kind, back up both the key store. You probably already did your keys, but there's a key store that has information about your name as well. So back it up and save it to your file system on your phone. And your sovereignty has been attained. So that is something that is not confiscatable without them putting bamboo under your fingernails and prying your key phrase, your seed phrase out from under you. This is actually part of the tool, but you see here, it's actually showing those bits of information that I put in there. And the real proof of the pudding is you go and look on mempool, and I can see in this particular transaction, there is a unspent output of 1,077 bytes. That's the UTXO that's associated with your handle. So don't spend that unless it's through a wallet that knows how to deal with this. And it's the real deal. So again, back up your key phrase and your key store. And at this point, if anyone has a question, I'd love to answer the question. Take any questions.